Do you know the feminist's perspective on MGTOW? Hello everybody, and welcome to One Mail. In this video, we're going to take a look at the reaction of a young woman when she's told about MGTOW. Some people might say that it's harsh or rude, but I think it's essential for them to know what it is to have a different and open outlook. So sit back and watch her reaction change from shock to outright intrigued. But first, I'd want to read a remark from Leslie Fetch. This is what Leslie said after seeing several of my flicks. These films are strange, to say the least. I came onto this film by coincidence and had never heard of MGTOW before. In my view, they are sexist, but in an uninformed rather than malicious sense. So, rather than feeling like it's an attack on women, I believe they are skewed. Because there is no masculine guilt for criminal behaviors, data are presented in an emotionally neutral way that looks quite authentic. So, although I'm worried about the message, I appreciate the absence of antagonism against women. I'm intrigued. I've read academic pieces in which a woman states that guys are nothing but difficulties and then suggests that all women should essentially become lesbians, honestly. Until the oppressive gender relations are addressed, that is. These articles then claim that intercourse with a guy can only be violent, which is utterly insane. I'm not claiming that women aren't sometimes to fault for horrible things, but I feel that fundamentalist gender ideas, whether aimed at men or women, are harmful to both genders. I'd want to ask you a serious question now. Do the guys who supported MGTOW favor complete gender separation? Do you honestly think women have all the power, which frequently seems nonsensical to me? And what part do you believe males have in the screwed up gender dynamics? How do you account for all the guys in high-ranking political and business positions who have gained tremendous amounts of money and power? Do you agree with any of the patriarchal concepts components? I'm a woman, and I'd want to understand more about your point of view. I'm not trying to dismiss it. I'm pretty interested. Are we sexist, Leslie, because we refuse to make sacrifices for women and do things for ourselves instead? MGTOW isn't overtly hostile, instead, they are purposely passive-aggressive, and we're not in the least bit gullible. Taking the red pill lets you see through the thick fog of deceit, control, and manipulation that women, governments, corporations, and cultural institutions have constructed to keep men blind. Looking through the mist, we see that women purposely confuse things so that guys like us may continue to jump through feminine hoops. What you're looking at right now on the internet, Leslie, will be with you for the rest of our lives, a male who has finally spoken up about the restraints women have put on us since the beginning. And now that we're free, you're nothing more than a tyrant. You're interested if you describe our freedom as sexist because we're being honest, rational, and unaffected by what we know. Many women would have a temper tantrum if they discovered that someone oppresses them in the same manner women oppress men. Many women have affected our behavior by enabling us to have sexual relations. Men are granted intimacy like dog treats by women only when they perform in a manner that the feminine collective deems acceptable. You generally show us attention, love, and physical closeness. What are your alternatives if we take you to a dinner party or purchase you that pocketbook or flowers you've always wanted? You've placed us in the doghouse unless this is just our feminine nature. It's no longer a mystery to us, many of us have seen enough of it to know that it's simply feminine nature, and being outraged about it is a waste of time. Do you get angry when your kid poos in their diaper? We don't get annoyed when it rains, of course. Instead, we have an umbrella with us. In this situation, our canopy is the internet. Leslie, we are protected by our knowledge and exchange of skills. You also state that many female writers in academic publications feel that males are the issue and that all women should become homosexuals. To me, this indicates that these are ladies who are terrified of us and our power. If you've ever been to a feminist rally, you've noticed how many lesbians there are. They are seeking to provoke men's rage for young and naive women to flock to feminists, whereas the guys who went our way mainly were heterosexual males. We won't tell men to leave their spouses and hook up with other men, and we won't attempt to influence each other like these female writers. Most of us have loved women and realized we must let go of the delusion known as love. Fantasy used to keep men and boys for the rest of their lives is a problematic last step for many of us. Society hates genuine men because they live for themselves without remorse. Residents of Midtown think that organization makes us unhappy and unsatisfied, so we may be more productive. But the reality is that we are much more effective when we are happy. At the very least, you feel that society is terrified of our enjoyment when it comes to intercourse with women. Guys are more than simply badasses. Furthermore, some guys are rough in bed, which some women appreciate. On the other hand, some females dislike guys who are slackers and pushovers. It's also a question of preference. You also suggest that gender stereotypes or fundamental beliefs may harm men and women. Women engage with one another in a more communal way than males. Women are more inclined to fall prey to conventional notions in general, while males are more solitary and autonomous. As a consequence, our worldviews are becoming more diversified. I agree that stereotyping may be deficient in certain situations, but this is especially true when most guys are uninformed of female gynocentrism. They need broad knowledge to understand the ideas. I also cover particular females, including personal experiences I've had and those other guys in my life have experienced, as well as the good and bad elements of your significant issues. First, you ask if we support complete gender separation in the MGTOW. After all, we don't have complete gender separation, and many of us are happy to date and have vaginal intercourse with women on occasion. We will not, however, give up our life or adjust our conduct to compensate for some of the terrible demands that women may put on us, and we feel that women have all the power since they account for the majority of voters. Men and women are not equally represented in our culture. Females outnumber males in the voting booth. Because males die 5 years sooner, women have more significant political influence than men. I recently talked with a lady who disagreed with you on this. When I mentioned it, she thought it had to be 50-50. However, in other nations, women account for 53 to 54% of the population. What about gender equality in representation? I'm sure that equalizing men's and women's voting rights will never fly. You also asked Leslie how much guilt guys should share for skewed gender dynamics. Nowadays, guys are whipped. Nobody likes a guy who has been hit. No one loves swampy guys, whether other men, women, or children. So when males dress up as manginas and white knights, they try to help women and give them what they desire. They are wreaking havoc on the rest of us. Guys are irresponsible in their kindness and construct towers that are not men. Gina, one of my customers, recently told me that I'm a man's man and an alpha guy. I told her I'd only been this way for a year and a half since I grew a pair of balls and started observing women's behavior, using my rational abilities instead of my emotions. Conversely, women must shoulder more responsibility since they constitute the majority of lone parents, and are ultimately in charge of raising men and boys. As a consequence, such guys develop angina and destabilize the gender dynamic. You may also ask why so many men are in power in business and politics. The solution is easy. Menstrual business is an event, but women manage and redistribute men's money and creativity. Men created everything, so why shouldn't they earn cash and retain power? Google was founded by two guys, whereas a single man founded Facebook. Because a man developed the steam engine, you're practically advocating that males should invent 99 things we enjoy in our everyday lives, establish companies around them, and then hand them over to women. Men who accumulate riches and power usually do so to attract and retain beautiful women. Money and power are also tools for a goal for most guys. If you want to be a communist, go to Cuba or North Korea, where men give up their authority. When men lose their ability to accumulate riches and power, they stop innovating and caring since it is worthless to labor for nothing. In answer to that question, you also ask whether I believe in any patriarchy, to which I respond that patriarchy is a phrase intended to deny males their rights by claiming that men must share power equally. It's not about power but responsibility. Males are in charge of keeping the roads, industries, buildings, and other critical infrastructure running. However, most women do not want to engage in construction or road maintenance because they fear being held accountable. Instead, they want to work as city planners in the mythical character Spider-Man, from the comfort and safety of a workstation, telling those road workers what to mend. His uncle once said that great strength comes with significant responsibility and that most women want great male power but not excellent man duty. The bulk of them, at the very least, do not want it to happen. Hopefully, I've taught you what it takes to be a man and a mid-tower. On the other hand, women can never completely comprehend what it is like to be a male until they are forced to depend entirely on themselves. Men don't offer freebies or handouts to one another. When I ask most of my pals for free assistance on a project, they typically tell me to screw off if I pay the money, even if they appear on time. Women have the advantage of using their beauty to beg free favors from males, and there is always a white knight or mangan ready to fulfill such demands. Males will never have this feminine privilege. I wish I could enjoy the perks of being a woman, yet in a way, I'm never unable to put what my mother gave me to use. Try doing everything in your life without any help and see how it goes, or do everything for yourself and rely on strange men here and there. When multiple girls approach me for favors, you'll see that being an ordinary guy in our culture is a hardship. When I tell them it would cost them money, they often scatter and run as quickly as possible. That has also been my experience. Male emancipation refers to males making their own decisions. For the first time in history, we are not required to be providers and are free to do anything we choose. Consider us the Men's Liberation Society or the front line. Thank you for your inquiries, Leslie. Suppose you want to know more about women and their privileges. I talked about a critical topic many people don't seem to understand. Many men out there make the mistake of trusting what women say without watching their actions and get burned. I'm going to break down exactly why this happens and how you can avoid it. So make sure to check my latest video out explaining more about the details.